the reason why bones cannot count is because you have to think about it logically. You cannot prove that that bone had children at all. And then you would have to prove that that bone had children that were eventually of a different kind, which you can't prove. I can take different.
You actually can prove that.
No, you cannot.
Yep.
You
Yes, you
prove
can.
that bones
So I would just say,
How did the
first of
bone
all,
get
you're,
there?
Again, using terms which you just admitted that don't make sense, which again do not make sense and are not accepted by any sort of scientific
the dolphin.
facility.
I don't care if a million people, all the scientific community once thought the world was flat. It doesn't mean that's an
No, they
argument
did
of
not.
authority. I don't care what they think. Okay, but here's my point. I'm going to say that all of those dolphins that you're lining up in a row, they didn't have any children. They died. Prove me wrong.
That's really easy to do. How did the dolphin get there?
How did that dolphin get there? It died there.
No, how does a dolphin existing happen?
Hold on 1 second, Planet. I promise you I'll get to you, but I told Ron that I would give him the next word, and then I'll run back to you. Go ahead, Ron.
I'm sorry. When I came in, I had just came in. Y'all was already talking, and you probably went over it. But I just wanted to know exactly what you were saying when you said bacteria disproves how exactly. And like I said, I know I'm probably late to the conversation, so you probably explained it. So I'm sorry.
We've done long-running experiments. Matter of fact, the longest running evolutionary experiment is on E. coli bacteria. And every time we get lesser genetic information off, it's
That's
losing.
100% false. Who told you that?
The experiments themselves, they lost their flagellum. They lost the genetic switch.
They gained the ability to metabolate citrate in the absence of oxygen. Or in the presence of oxygen, actually.
Let me ask you a question.
Because you were there, right? You were there and you saw it.
Okay. Could they eat citrate before?
Not if there was oxygen present.
You didn't have, I know. So let me go ahead and put it like this, okay? A regular E. coli bacteria has a flagellum. It has a little tail that allows it to swim. It eats glucose in the presence of oxygen. When
Citrate.
there's no oxygen, it's citrate and oxygen and glucose and no oxygen. I think you have that backwards. I think it's oxygen. When there's oxygen present, it eats glucose. Just like oxygen inside of the lab.
I know
they
that,
fed
yeah.
Glucose. That's what I just said.
Okay.
So
you're getting this
a-
wrong because citrate is the new.
Okay.
I guess you need to let him finish, man.
If you'll let me finish, you'll apologize for saying I was wrong. Because at first, I'm just telling you what the normal wild E. coli bacteria out here in the planet has. A regular normal E. coli bacteria has a flagellum. It swims. Okay. When there's oxygen present, it eats glucose. When there's no oxygen present, like it's inside your colon or something like that, there's like a genetic switch that allows the transfer of proteins to allow in a different shape, which would be citrus. Okay. And then it has ability to eat two food sources in two oxygenated environment and unoxygenated environment, right? So it has a flagellum, it eats glucose and oxygen, and it eats citrate when there's no oxygen. Now, when they put these bacteria inside of this lab, inside of a flask and hand fed it, it lost its flagellum. It no longer has a flagellum. It also lost the ability, it already could eat citrate. It already could eat it, but it started to eat citrate in the presence of oxygen and no longer eats glucose. So now
that's a new function.
So now it has the ability to eat citrate in two environments. Tell me which one's evolving. The natural one that has all the
If it
abilities.
changed, it evolved. That's what it means to evolve.
Yeah, with wings, right?
This is like saying if an organism, like a bat, it has wings, but that's not something new because its wings are just modified arms. No, it didn't have wings before, and now it does. So it clearly evolved.
And you were there when they didn't have wings.
I'm seeing zero data that says they lost their flagella. Do you have a source for that?
Yeah, it's actually in the scientific.
That's what I was about to say. When they lost their flagella, was it because they found the need not to use it anymore, so they used that?
It's not that they.
Losing your flagella is evolving, by the way.
Guys, listen, hold on, one at a time. I don't want to mute anybody, but I've been part of panels where everybody's talking at one time and it gets confusing. I'm back playing through somebody's stuff. So they didn't just find the need.
That's me. Hold on. That's me.
They were hand fed, so they didn't need to swim to get their food anymore. And that's an example. And what you just did is exactly what I claimed evolutionists do every time. You show me an example of it losing information and then claiming that that's evolution.
It didn't lose information.
It can't. It can't eat glucose in oxygen anymore. It doesn't have a flagellum.
Because it doesn't
That's
need to survive
not
in
true.
that type
Where
of
did you hear
environment.
that they can't
Great.
eat oxygen?
If you can say that it doesn't need it anymore, you're still showing me an example of it losing information and claiming that's how we all got here.
What do you think losing information means?
What do you think you losing information? It's pretty self-evident when I just showed you it lost its flagellum. And it lost the
A
ability to
flagellum
eat
is
glucose.
not information. So what do you think information is?
Okay, listen.
That's a fallacious argument.
We're going straight back to the definition. We can't win on the example, then we go to the definition. It lost information, however you want to define. I don't care how you define it. It lost its flagellum, and it no longer has the ability to eat glucose. It's not getting better. It's
They
getting
didn't
worse.
lose the ability to eat glucose. I don't know why you're saying that. They gained the ability to eat citrate in a new kind of environment, but they can still metabolize glucose.
Yeah, but it only eats citrate now.
That's
to
not
them.
true.
Yeah.
I've read these studies before. So,
I don't think you read them pretty good because you don't know the flagellum's gone.
I have not seen a single source that says that. If that's true, then that's interesting that the bacteria evolved to no longer have a flagella. That's not a problem for evolution.
Yeah, of course.
Are you
They just
aware
keep
that
losing.
humans have multiple copies of certain genes?
Okay.
Okay, so that's a gain in information.
No, it's existing information that's just copied.
If it's copied, that means that we gained new information, right?
No,
That's the exact point I made.
If I grow another arm, have I gained information?
Yes.
No, the genetic code is already there. It just duplicated. I didn't
A
create new arm.
duplicated part of your genetic code is new information. Added information is new information. In
it's
fact,
not new.
subtracted information is new information. So I can prove this to you very easily, host. Are you ready?
Please. Yeah, go ahead.
If I take a sentence and I remove one of the words, does the sentence now have a different meaning?
It could.
So
Depends.
that's new information. The information is different than it was before. So the new sentence contains information the old sentence didn't. That's new information. And it would also work that way if you added words to a sentence. Both of those things happen with genetics.
Now, look, I know that we're not going to agree. I get that. And I enjoy the conversation and I appreciate it. But I want for everybody else that's listening in the comments, I called it ahead of time, and this is what I say all the time. You have nothing but loss of information, and then you claim. So I'll go back to
No,
my
we have
original-
duplicated genes, many of them.
Can you let him
all
finish?
get
Come
here
on,
from a
come on.
single-celled
Then you'll have your
Well,
opportunity.
when he
Then-
says something that's wrong, I'm going to butt in. Sorry.
Well, yeah, if you don't like it, you can leave.
Yeah, hold on, guys. This is my live. You know, I don't mind a little going back and forth. That doesn't hurt my feelings. If I need to, I'll mute people. I don't mind that. But it goes back to my original. This is why I said they fight so hard over definitions, because they want to be able to claim that all we can see, part of science, observe, test. All we can test and observe is stuff losing information, but we can't get rid of our religion of evolution. So how did we all get here, teacher? Well, little Johnny, we all started off as a single-celled organism.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
been
what
proven,
happens?
by the way.
We all lost information, and that's how we become humans. You got to show me again.
We've shown
We
you
have
multiple examples of
duplicated genes.
organisms
Yeah,
getting new genetic information.
Okay,
this
if
is
I
well
have-
known.
If I have DNA that duplicates and creates another arm, right? And
That's
you say
new
that's
information.
new information. Will it ever be anything other than an arm?
Yeah, so this is actually also known. So, you know, crustaceans, they have like a whole bunch of legs, but their front legs are these big pincers.
Okay.
So we now know, thanks to doing genetic sequencing, that you take because they're a type of arthropod, insects, crustaceans, spiders, arachnids, all those things. So what we now know is insects all have 6 legs, 3 pairs. Crustaceans have 5 pairs. Most of those pairs are basically identical to each other, and then the frontmost pairs are very highly modified. We now know that they have duplicate copies of the Hox genes that code for creating those legs. So because they have extra copies of those genes, they grow extra legs, but now the front legs have been modified into completely different structures. They're not used for locomotion. They're used for doing whatever the hell crabs do. So that's one example.
Well, yes, let me tell you something that you're saying is mathematical impossibility because the flagellum requires 40 to 50 coordinated proteins.
Yeah,
Probably.
but we've actually deleted
I haven't
pieces of the
finished. Come
flagellum and it
on, come
still
on. I
works.
haven't finished.
So your
Hey, listen, I
irreducible
haven't finished.
complexity
Let me
argument
finish.
is scientifically
Let
proven
me
to be
finish.
false.
Let me finish. Hey, I can also
I already
speak.
know where you're
I
going.
also speak. I also can speak.
Let him get it out for the audience, okay?
Okay, probability of even one average size protein, which is 300 amino acids, forming by chances, is equal 1 in 10,000 at 164 exponential. So it's
One
impossible.
in
It's
10,064 exponential.
impossible.
That's an incredibly made up
It's
statistic you just did there.
impossible.
And it's extremely
It's
telling how you change the
impossible.
subject when your
It is
irreducible complexity argument.
impossible.
Yeah.
It is
What are the odds that a
impossible.
magic man in
It
the
is
sky did it?
impossible.
Hold on, wait a minute. Let's
It is
let me get
impossible.
this-
Right.
let me
So
get
I
this-
take your concession. You
keep
changed
doing-
the subject because you got
So much
absolutely
faith.
destroyed on that.
So
So
much faith.
that's
Guys,
fine.
both of you,
Impossible,
I'm
man.
gonna
You're
mute-
just
mute you
you believe
down
in the
at bottom, okay? Hold on, just a second, and you run away. You don't got to do that, man. You got to hit and run. So your example of the legs. Okay,
Yep.
I would just simply say that's design. It has the same genetic information as legs for a good part of it because the majority of it is a leg.
So,
Right, so
yeah, but they
the
get
same-
mutated to the point where they become something totally different. This is how
can't-
a bat's wing is. Like, if we look at the homologous structure, a bat's wing is just an arm with extremely long webbed fingers, right? But nobody thinks that a bat's wing is the same thing as the arms that whatever the ancestor of bats before it was flying. Nobody would say they're the same thing. Evolution is descent with modification. Evolution doesn't work in a way where an organism gives birth and the organism it gave birth to is completely different and has features that have never been seen before. It can only modify pre-existing physical structures or genetic structures.
If a dog comes from a single-celled organism, I think you would agree that eventually it would have to be something that is non-dog and something that is single-celled organism, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't happen one day.
I know, I agree with that, but the fact that this is what you can never tie down people because you have what we like to refer to as the God of gaps. Anytime you can't test or observe or see it, you just sprinkle some time.
We
on
can
it.
test
We
it.
can't test it. Okay, well then show me how you can test it because the laboratory experiment.
If dogs are related to bacteria, if dogs or if evolution, like life started off as bacteria and then became what we see today, that's testable and it's been proven like countless times.
Okay, I must have missed it. Tell me how it's proven.
So remember, I wasn't up here, but I was listening. You were talking about cats are all cats, right? Mm-hmm. And that's because you test their genes, right?
Okay.
Okay, so if they share genes, they're part of the same family. If they share fewer genes, they're still related, but they're not exactly part of the same, not necessarily part of the same group. Well, the fact is, all life on the planet does share genes, so that means all life on the planet is related.
I don't buy that definition. I think that's still more.
That's literally what it means to be related to something, though. It's how you decide whether or not a cat is a cat. You look at its genes. There are things that look just like cats but aren't cats because their genetics are too different.
Yeah, I would say that's common design. I would not say that we've never seen or tested or observed that. That's what you claim.
Well, evolution was the field that predicted that all life should be related, and then way later we learned how to actually test that, and then it came true. Intelligent design was something that you guys came up with after evolution was proven, but you wanted to maintain your belief, so then you just said, well, actually, a magic man in the sky did that. There's no test for that.
Right, and I'm not claiming that, so that you're trying to bring that in like you claimed the other brother did was running away from it. I haven't brought up religion once, only to answer your question about it. I haven't brought up religion, you have. The claim is about evolution, and you keep bringing
You brought up
religion.
design.
Yes, that's the viewpoint, exactly. But I haven't brought up a religion, right? I just said I think that's a design.
Well,
Absolutely.
intelligent design is, I mean, it's not, it in itself isn't a religion, but it's a theological solution to the problem of evolution's been proven very rigorously, and now we have to figure out what to do about that.
And that's just a statement. It's not been proven. Like I said, you can't
I
test
just showed it to you how it is proven, though.
Hey, you know the stuff that makes up life?
Yeah.
Those things are also in other life. Do you know that I can take the tires off of a Ford and put them on a Chevy and they fit just fine? It didn't evolve. It's common design.
The difference is, so what? It sounds like I'm changing subject, but I'm not. What's actually really crazy about this is like the way I argued to you, evolution works and how you would prove it. I promise you actually believe essentially the exact same thing has happened in history, actually. Because you believe in the flood, right?
Yeah.
So the flood would require a few thousand species to turn into millions of species. Meaning the thing that you think can't happen, a change in kind, had to have happened, and literally in a matter of only a few years. Maybe a few decades or centuries.
No, I believe that the dog kind that come off still produce dogs. I don't believe that any of the animals become something other than their own kind.
Yeah, but you said earlier a kind is something that can mate and produce offspring, right?
I get kicked. This is again another thing that I predicted is we keep going down these definition loopholes to where you try to win by definition.
Well, what I'm doing is proving that what you say is the limitation. You believe in a violation of that limitation.
No, I don't. I believe
no, you 100% do. So what is a family? Because I promise you, in order for the flood you believe in to have happened, a change in kind has to happen. It absolutely has to happen.
No, it absolutely doesn't. But
it does, and I can prove it. So what is a family?
See, there we go. Now we're going right back on definitions again. So let me ask you this right here. Let's get back on topic. We're talking about the bacteria. Why is it? How long did it take for monkey evolution or whatever to go into man evolution? It's about
monkey to man. I thought you said we were talking about bacteria.
I am. And if you'll answer the question, I promise you, I'll show you how it fits.
Monkeys aren't bacteria, though. Do you want me to answer the monkey question?
Okay.
Hey guys, how's it going?
I won't pose it as a question. I'll just make the statement then. Okay. That way you'll be able to follow. Okay. So in monkey to man evolution, at least last time I looked at it, it was roughly about 90,000 generations or something like that, which is a million, 2 million or something years of evolution that we went from evidently a tree dwelling monkey into humans. So why is
you're nowhere close with that?
That's last time I looked at it. What is it? How many years of evolution did it take for monkeys to go into man?
So it depends what you mean by monkey, because we're apes. An ape taxonomically is a type of monkey, but no, Ardipithecus is like 5 million years old, and Ardipithecus was almost certainly in the trees quite a lot. Ardipithecus is in our lineage, so a million years. No, there were. Only a million years ago, we had Homo erectus, and Homo erectus is only 2 ancestors back. Nobody would call Homo erectus a monkey. It was an upright walking tool using species of human. 2 things real quick. 1, in the spirit of Black Friday, for the next 2 weeks, my entire store is 15% off. Also, I created a ton of new designs, and you can now get new t-shirts in sizes from small to 3XL and in up to 8 different colors. Click the link in the description to check that out.
Here's my point about the bacteria. We've replicated, 2 million years or a million and some change through what would be human evolution through the bacteria, because we can have 9 generations in a single day, and we've done it for 40 years. So why is it that in a million years or 2 million, whatever it is, it's in the millions, I can't remember the exact one, that we've had of this simulated evolution, why is it not produced anything other than worse off bacteria?
Well, they're not worse off. They're extremely good at surviving in their environment. For example, that bacteria that can digest citrate, it now has access to a food source more readily than its ancestors did. So it literally has better fitness. And actually, if you want to know if it's being successful, that's what you do. You track fitness, and we see fitness increasing in these experiments all the time.
No, that right there is absolutely horribly false. That's not true at all.
No, I literally wrote a book about this. I can tell you about compensatory mutations.
Because when you see the bacteria that become resistant to antibiotics, what they do is they increase that trait so that they become super resistant and super resistant and super resistant and make it stronger. And then when you put them back into the population of regular bacteria, what happens to them if you wrote the book? Does that trait continue, or do they die out?
You're talking about when you add bacteria that have resistance and then you mix them with regular bacteria?
I'm asking a very simple question now that it seems that since you wrote a book that you're deliberately trying to avoid. So I'll ask it again. In the bacteria experiments where they have bacteria that are resistant to the antibiotics, and that you can see this on the table, and then they put a stronger antibiotic on the table, and then the bacteria grows into that, and it's encouraging that trait of super resistance to antibiotics. Then when they take that thing at the end of the table, when it becomes the super strongest in the resistant to the antibiotics, and they put it back into the regular population of bacteria, what happens to it?
I don't know. Go ahead and tell me. I've never heard of this.
It dies out. It doesn't survive like the other ones. You know, and I can tell you why. Is because you've taken that trait and you've isolated that trait. You've encouraged that trait while all the other traits went down. And your thing that said, we can
okay, I know what you're talking about now.
These E. coli bacteria in the lab and put them on the table, and as long as humans aren't there to feed them, they die out because they've lost their flagellum.
So, no, first of all. Second of all, will you allow me to read a paragraph about compensatory mutations?
Yeah, you can read it.
Okay. It should only take me like a minute. Scientists have studied salmonella bacteria that were resistant to streptomycin, but at the cost of reduced ability to assemble proteins. This decreased their fitness as a measure by the rate of reproduction. That is, these bacteria have lower rates of reproduction than others in the absence of antibiotics. This is exactly what you were just talking about. In the presence of antibiotics, these bacteria have much greater fitness because others die off. Scientists then allowed the bacteria to multiply, which they are prolific at. Small genetic changes happen every generation, and the scientists waited to see if the bacteria could regain their original fitness while still maintaining resistance to streptomycin. That's exactly what happened. Of the 81 separate lineages, 77 maintained resistance to streptomycin and increased in their fitness. So the thing you're talking about is, they become resistant, but they put all their eggs in one basket and then they can't compete with the other members of their group. That can happen, but literally we've done the experiment and 90% of them, or whatever that is, actually end up out-competing their members or whatever, and they maintain their fitness. And the experiment for that... Well,
so what I'm a little familiar with one. I don't know if you're naming a specific study. So some of the bacteria
I've got the name of it if you want it.
Right. So some of the bacteria are able to start mating with the normal, like the super strong bacteria. When they put it back into the normal population, they are able to produce offspring. I understand that, and those offspring do have some of the traits, but it's not at the same level. And the bacteria they're super strong in it do not maintain at that same level. They don't create more super bacteria.
I just read you the study, and in 77 of the 81 lineages, they ended up reaching their same level of fitness.
Of fitness, right? Fitness.
So if you have two populations, the one that has greater fitness is the one that reproduces more, so it can outcompete the other. But what happened is they found that they regained their fitness in 77 of the 81 cases.
Yeah, but you gotta listen to the semantic wording there. When they say they regained their fitness, that means that they went back to the way that they basically was, because the normal population had the fitness in it to begin with.
Yeah, but now they're also resistant to antibiotics. So not only are they as good as they were with the original population, if you introduce the antibiotics, they're far better even. So it started off, they were only more successful if you add the streptomycin, And then what happened is they became equal even in the absence of streptomycin.
Right, but we would agree. I think you might know this already. I haven't brought this up, but the resistance to the antibiotic predated the antibiotic. So when they put them back into the normal populations, the only ones that were allowed to live during the experiment was the ones that already had the resistance. So when they put them back into the population, they're taking a trait that already existed and then they're mating that. So yeah, it's still in the population. They didn't gain any new information, and they're not superior than the original population, and that's exactly the semantic words.
But they are superior.
I don't. That's what
they have more antibiotic resistance. That's absolutely beneficial.
No. Did the antibiotic resistance predate it, or did it evolve from it?
I'm not aware if these bacteria went from having no antibiotic resistance at all to streptomycin to having some, because we can genetically engineer bacteria with that. I'm not aware if they had none of it and then it was like inserted with CRISPR, or if they always had it, these were just the strongest ones or not.
Right. So the gene or I don't want to say gene because I've actually I can't remember what it was, but it does it through information loss. So the whatever that the antibiotic attaches to it no longer allows. The same thing for like the poison resistance in the cockroach. Whatever the gene is that the poison attaches to that it kills the cockroach, it's lost that ability. So it didn't necessarily become resistant. It just lost that ability for that poison to attach. Same thing with the antibiotic. The resistance predated the antibiotic, so it did not evolve from the antibiotic. We know this because you can find it in permafrost. I mean, I don't know why you're laughing.
Because we went over this, evolution is descent with modification.
Okay, so I'll ask you again. Did the antibiotic evolve a new way of fighting the bacteria, evolve a new way of fighting the antibiotic? Or did the antibiotic just happen to kill every single one of the bacteria that didn't already have it? It predates.
In this specific case, I don't know what gives them the resistance, if they're peptidoglycan or whatever, the carbohydrate and protein receptors on the surface of the cell. I don't know if like it was changes in that made them more resistant, so that the antibodies or whatever couldn't bind to them. I don't know exactly how they had their better levels of resistance. It usually comes in some form of that, because an antibiotic has to attach to a bacteria in order to attack it.
There you go. That's what I said, and I can't remember the name of it that it lost, that it can no longer attach, but it did not gain a new ability to fight it. It lost the ability for it to attach. So it's superior, it's not superior, it's inferior than the original bacteria.
It's so not inferior. It has the same fitness, and it is resistant to an antibiotic. It's resistant to something that tries to kill it. But if we go with your thing about, well, this isn't even a new trait, we can absolutely do a new trait if you want.
In this very specific outline, you said that it is superior in this very specific thing that we've made. So let me give you a scenario with the exact same logic, and I promise you this is the same logic. And so that I won't seem like this super racist person, I'll make up a new race of people called the purple people, right? And in my world, we have laws just like science has laws. And all the other races get together and we say, hey, you know what? We don't want these purple people around anymore. How are we going to get rid of them? So we say, you know what? Here's the laws. You have to go arrest every purple male, put them in handcuffs, throw them in the back of a paddy wagon, send them to jail. They can no longer reproduce. The only people that can reproduce with the purple females will be the other races, and eventually, if you keep getting rid of the purple males, the purple race itself will come out of existence because they're not going to be able to carry on, right? So we go and get all the purple males, but guess what? One purple male was born, and he doesn't have any arms. So we can't handcuff him. That's the law, right? We don't have anything for the handcuffs to attach to. So that purple male gets to live. Now, he can still mate. There's nothing wrong with his reproductive system. And now he seems super strong in front of all these purple ladies because he's the only purple male left. Next thing you know, this, just to make the math simple, this purple male gets with this purple female and he has 10 babies, right? He has 5 boys and 5 girls, right? And 5 of those boys get the no arm trait from him. They don't have the ability to grow arms. So a couple of those boys don't have arms. The rest of them do. They come and get the ones that have arms, and they arrest them, throw them in a paddy wagon, right? Well, there's nothing wrong with the girls. They get to stay there whether they have arms or not. But the males who don't have arms, now you have 4 instead of 1. They get to mate. And their children that are males don't have any arms. They get arrested, or have arms. They get arrested and taken away. So now you have encouraged a trait of no arms throughout the population. Are they superior or inferior to the original purple male?
There's no such thing in this particular case as superior or inferior. If they are able to maintain a population and reproduce, then they have fitness. They are being successful. This is like saying snakes are worse than lizards because they don't have legs. No, snakes are doing great. So all over the world, snakes are doing incredibly well.
I use that as a very specific example, and it requires a very specific answer. You cannot say that the purple males who don't have any arm are superior to the males with arms. Let's say there was a prison break and the laws get broken, and we say, you know what, forget it. All the purple males that are now reintroduced back into the population with 2 arms, are they going to be, the women are going to now prefer them because they have 2 arms and they can do things. So then now the 2-arm population is going to take over. So...
Or the no-arm population could just do their own thing and then be successful doing their own thing.
Do you see the leaps in logic you got to have to make evolution
true?
But
you're literally describing allopatric speciation right now. Like, the thing you're describing is something that happens, and you're just pretending that because they don't have arms, they're worse, which there are no value judgments in evolution. If you want to know whether or not an organism is doing the game of life correctly or winning at evolution, you just track, does it maintain a population over generations? If the answer is yes, then the answer is yes.
Okay, so you're just going to keep showing us genetic information loss, claiming superiority, and that's how we all got here.
I gave you examples of genetic information being gained, but I got a new one of those.
Duplication is not gained.
Well, it absolutely does, because we already went over this. If you duplicate the information, that's new information. But we've taken E. coli, and we've actually deleted the gene they have for metabolizing lactose. And the bacteria have spontaneously regained the ability to digest lactose after that. So they absolutely, because the gene is just flat out gone. This isn't a case where they just have more resistance to something, or they were able to digest a trait, but now they can just do it in a different kind of environment. This is the lactose metabolizing gene is completely deleted from them. They regain the ability to metabolize lactose afterwards. Absolutely, we would call this gain of function, right? But absolutely new information and a new function in the positive direction.
I took an engine out of my car and then put the engine back in my car, and now it can do something new.
Yeah, cars don't evolve.
Yeah, neither did that. You remove the bacteria, and you remove the ability, and it gained back the ability.
Okay, so I wish I would have asked you this earlier. It's a little unfortunate, but what is the evidence you would have to see in order to accept this? Because I know that's an example of it, and you just hand waved it away.
Yeah, because your DNA.
Hold on, I promise you I'll let you talk, but I don't want to. I want to get through this, and Planet and I have been going at this for a little while, so I'll say something. I'll give him the last word, and then I'll move to you. Okay, is that fair? Okay, so to answer your question about what I would have to see is I would have to see something actually gain information that's actually better instead of showing me examples of losing information. You can't keep showing me examples of losing information.
The metabolizing lactose is 100% exactly what you asked for.
I'm not aware of that one. I will have to look at it. That's the first time I've ever heard that one.
I'll give you the name of the study.
Sure. Yeah. What's the name of the study? I'll write it down.
I'm flipping through my book here. It is called. Oh well, it's from a book. It's called "Why Evolution Is True" by Jerry Coyne.
Okay, so here's what I'll do is I promise you I'll look at that and check it out. But this is my prediction that I'll make. And look, if I'm wrong, I might have to eat crow on it. But the reason why I'll make this prediction, and I'm probably right, is because this happens with every study that they do. This happened with the study that you mentioned earlier that we was talking about the E. coli bacteria and it doing citrate. When the study first come out, they claimed, oh, this is evolution. Until you actually look at the actual study and you see that they're doing all of these different things through a loss of information, not through a gain. So it's not evolution. So I will take a look at this study, but my prediction right now, it'll be the same as all of the other ones, because every time they come out and claim that this is the new thing that now proves evolution, it almost always, and right now I can't think of a single time when it hasn't been proven that it's actually losing information, not gaining. But I'll take a look at that study. I appreciate the topic, brother. Thank you, sir. I'll give you the last word.
Well, I mean, since this is my last chance, look into, we've taken yeast and forced them to evolve into multicellular organisms as well. So I would take a look in that, because that's obviously a necessary step to go from single cell to multi-celled. We've done that in the lab.
You got me to bite on that one real quick. I'm sorry, but yeah. So what they've done with that one is and you can look at James Tour. James Tour is
James Tour.
Is James Tour a
synthetic chemist? Yes, he is. Who knows? He's so ill-informed on evolution. What does this have to do with yeast becoming multicellular, though?
All right, brother. Have a good one. I appreciate your conversation, man. So, all right, man.
This video and all my videos is on my Patreon ad-free, and you can get a free copy of my first book by being a member too. Plus, your name will appear in the end credits. Thank you.